And now, an ad from Dad.
All right, save money on car insurance when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Can I take these off? All right. What is this? This looks good. Wow. That's well made. Where did you get this? I'm talking to you with the hair. Yeah, where did you get this? It's good stuff. That's solid. That's not veneer. That's solid stuff.
Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money when you bundle home and auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
You're listening to Good Morning Gwinnett, a division of ABK Media Group, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, sharing stories about people and places around beautiful Gwinnett County every day at 9 a.m. Southern living at its best.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney. So glad to be here with you this morning. Got a great guest coming on for you today. We're going to be continuing our 12-week series on creating your financial destiny with Mr. Chris Cooke. He's going to be talking about today about is investing your spare change. So excited about that. Listen, anytime we can figure out what to do with our money, and so that it can grow while we're working for it, it's a great thing. So we're going to have Chris on shortly with that. But before we get to Chris, I got to run down give you the rundown of some things that's going on in Gwinnett right now. The first thing I want to do is do my People Helping People segment, where I shout out a nonprofit that's doing some great things here in Gwinnett County. And this shout out goes out to Emma Cares. It's an organization located in Gwinnett County that helps senior citizens with senior housing, transportation, community services. But one of the things I really like about the program is something that they call work at home. There are a lot of senior citizens who are not ready to just retire and stop being a part of society and their community, and they want to do something different. So Emma Cares has a program called Work at Home, where they have partnered with virtual companies so that these people can do customer service. Now, if you've never done customer service for home, that's simply a matter of they're going to send you a computer. You have to make sure that you have a phone line, and they're going to train you on some software. Now, a company that does this really well is Apple. My daughter worked for Apple for a very short time because she didn't like being at home. She thought she would like being at home, but she actually did not. And what happens is they provide you with employment. And Apple was paying really good money, but my daughter just didn't like being at home all day long. So, but if you are home and you're a senior citizen, you're home, or even if you're not a senior citizen, but you maybe a disabled person who's looking for, work, you want to be a part of something, connected to something, Emma Cares offers you that opportunity. It offers you the opportunity to be able to work at home, make some money, and still be connected to the outside world, especially if you can't get outside that much. So if you want more information about Emma Cares, you can go to emmacares.org or give them a call at 404-647-4996. Again, that number is 404-647-4996, and the website is Emma Cares. Their email address is emmacares@msn.com. Great organization with a great service. And as always, this is a nonprofit, so they can use your help in making financial donations and also donating your time. It's very important that we give back as much as we can to make our world a better place. Mayor Mayor Johnson is stepping down. She's going to not run for re-election. Judy Jordan Johnson, who has been the mayor in Gwinnett since 2010, said she would not seek re-election this year coming up. So she wanted to just take some time out now to just be a spectator and be on the sidelines. She will stay actively involved in the community, but she just won't be the mayor this year. So she's stepping down. She's been here since 2010. She's done some great things. Her thing was to create buzz to Lawrenceville, and she's done it. She has some great projects underway. She's, some great projects that are coming, some great things that are going. One of the things she said she's really proud of is the Lawrenceville lawn. So if you have not had the opportunity to go down to Lawrenceville, we have the Lawrenceville lawn. It is gorgeous. We shot some video over there a couple of years ago when they first built it. It has It's a park there for the children. There's seating there, and they just put the south lawn up right across the street with more seatings and picnic tables. It's just really nice, and it's a great place to hang out, especially in the summertime when they do movie on the lawn. Just beautiful there. So Mayor Johnson says she will not seek re-election, but she will still be a pillar in the community by, being a spectator and still doing whatever she can to make Lawrenceville a great place to live. on to Grayson. Grayson is, there's election year coming. There's a lot going on. And Jasper Watkins, who ran against Tommy Hunter in 2016, narrowly lost that race. So he said he's going to throw his hat in the race again because he thinks that, although Tommy may have done some things that are good, there's room for improvement and change that district number 3 needs to see. So he's going to throw his hat in the ring again and run for commission for District 3. He's a retired Army officer. And, he said he has some great ideas about what he can do to make Grayson a better place to live in District 3. So he's going to be running again and coming up again. So, Tommy, I don't know what the deal is, but they're coming for you, boy. They're coming for you. Listen, we're going to come right back. We're going to come back with Chris. Chris has some great information to share with us about money, and we always need to know what to do with our money. But before that, we're going to go to a song, and then after the song, we'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah. People like to party. Listen up, yeah, it's time to start it. And I know you got it. If you're with me, let's rock this party. All the girls on the side say, and all my fellas on the side say, nothing's gonna fly high to the skies. Nothing's gonna have to pay for the good life. And we go up. I'm gonna rock this club till the slow drop. Yeah, we're gonna live a good life. Yeah, we're gonna do it all night. Tonight, we're gonna live the good life. Alright, let's go and live the good life, the good life. Tonight, we're gonna live the good life. Alright, let's go and live the good life, the good life. Tonight, we're gonna live the good life. Alright, let's go and live the good life, the good life. Tonight, we're gonna live the good life. Alright, let's go and live the good life, the good life. I saw you when you passed me by, girl. Listen, baby, it ain't no lie, girl. And I can't deny that you're stuck with it, booty caught my eye, girl. You should never be the shy girl. I'm not a player, no, I'm not the guy, girl. Yeah, I know that we could fly up in the sky. I think we could try, girl. Yeah, you know that I've been around the time, up and down for some to play with. Yeah, I know I finally found you, girl. I know I found you, girl. You got me.
Want you to live the good life. That's why we're talking about money today with Mr. Chris Cooke. We want you to live the good life. Listen, without money, there's not a whole lot of good life. However, a lot of gratitude can also let you live the good life. So, Chris, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. How are you today?
Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm really doing great this morning. Matter of fact, I was excited, and I even got more excited just listening to that song. You know, I think all of us want to live the good life.
Absolutely. Listen, if you guys want to talk, Chris, you can call in 323-642-1096. He's going to be on with us talking about money. And so I think we're on part 4 right now. Are we, Chris? I think it's part 4, investing your spare change.
Yes,
I
we
think
are.
that's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So listen, if you missed any of the previous episodes with Chris, go over to goodmorninggwinnett.com and check out all the previous episodes. This is a 12-week series that we're doing, and we're going to be talking about money for the next 12 weeks, investing, savings, where you can get extra money from, creating multiple streams of income, all of those things, because those are the things you need to be able to create wealth. You can't create wealth with just a job. Am I correct, Chris?
That's true. That is absolutely true. Or it's going to take a lot longer than most people think.
So now let's jump right in. I know we did creating your financial destiny. We talked about automatic investing last week. Where are we right now with the spare change, and what can we do? Because I don't think people even understand what they can do with spare change.
Yeah. Even before then, and I think I may even every broadcast we need to remind people that building wealth, generational wealth, saving money, getting out of debt, all of those things begin with a mindset. And that's partly where the challenge is. So I just want to take a few minutes and just to either encourage someone or challenge someone to think about the mindset has to be there. None of these things happen magically. They don't happen empirically. They happen when we make up our mind that's what we want to do. With spare change or when we do something on purpose, we got to have a mindset. People aren't poor because they don't have money. Let that set in a minute. People are poor because of a mindset. I think I shared the story, and I think it's worth repeating. I'm a big fan of Alice in Wonderland, and so Alice is in Wonderland, and she rolls up on the Cheshire Cat, and she said, "Would you tell me, please, which way I go to? What I ought to go from here?" And so the cat said, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." And she said, "I don't care much." And then he says, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." And the refrain for Alice, as it is for us, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And after 40 years of work for most people, they're no further ahead than where they were when they started. I'm talking financially now, as far as what they've saved, et cetera, and so forth. So it starts with a mindset. You have to, on purpose, want to get to wherever it is you want to be, whether it's just saving change or college savings or retirement. And here's the thing. Most people really don't know where they want to be. Mark Twain said, "I can lead anybody where they want to be if they know where they're going." And most people don't know where they're going, Audrey.
Wow, that's a great story. And that's true. Most people don't know where they're going. I mean, not only with money, they don't even know where they're going in life. It's just, and I think that's one of the big hindrances for people because they have to have a roadmap. But how do they get on the path of where they should be going? How do they even recognize it? Because I talk to a lot of people, even in business, they want to do something. They just don't know what to do because they don't know how to get on that path. How do they get on that path, Chris?
Yeah. It sounds like an oversimplification. But it's amazing how few people do it. 80%, this is real simple. Before we start talking about big numbers, 80% of people in this country do not have a written budget. I've been doing my budget religiously probably over the last decade, 5 days before the month ends. So I would challenge people, here's where you start. Take out a paper and a pencil. You can get you could actually, buy budgets, or you could get templates online, but just take a piece of paper and start from there. How much is your mortgage? How much is your utilities? How much you spend in food? How much do you spend in entertainment? How much you spend, just line item, which you have spent the previous month, in this case, March, and then going into April, you already know what your expenses are, fixed and otherwise, and then say, I want to reduce everything by 10% with the exception of the fixed expenses. That's a good place to start. And only 30% of Americans have a long-term financial goal. Check this out, Audrey. People will spend more time planning a wedding or vacation than they will plan for their financial future.
Wow. Say it again, Chris, because that is so true. Say it again.
Yeah, people will spend more time planning their wedding or their vacation than their financial future.
That's true.
I think in large
That's
part
true.
because they don't know. We don't know. This isn't a subject that for many of us we learned in grade school, college. I did a workshop about 4 or 5 years ago, how money works at Morehouse for the sophomore class. The president of the sophomore class at the end of it said, "Man, this is some good stuff, but we've never heard of it before." That's cause for alarm. We think that we're not even teaching our children how to budget. They recklessly spend money because the new KDs are out, the new iPhone 11 is out, the next fashion is out, and we just spend our money as a prodigal, and we wonder why we have more month left over than money at the end of the month. And I think a budget
and that's
helps
so
you. It's
true.
a spending plan.
It is true. It's so funny because I had Lori Goodman on. She is the queen of finance early on in the show, and she talks a lot about budgeting. She even had a group called the Queen of Finance out in Conyers, and we would meet up on once a month, and everybody had to bring their we had a notebook, not even it was like a journal. It was like a money journal, and we all had to bring our money journal and prove to her that we were doing our budget, and she kept us accountable. That's another thing too, like accountability. Like for some people, they don't know, they don't have any accountability, so they don't do anything different. Talk a little bit about accountability for me.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal because, I can get up this morning and say, you know what, I'm going to do 10 push-ups. And around push-up number 5, I'm a little tired. I think I'll quit. But if I say to you, hey, Audrey, I'm going to do 10 push-ups and I want you to call me and make sure at the end of my exercise period that I've done them. See, when we think we don't have anybody to be answerable to, we'll get away with stuff like that. I know my budget said I should spend $50, but I don't have to answer anybody. And I'm going to tell you, that's a life-changing experience when you're answerable to somebody that you respect and trust. And that's a good way to start. Matter of fact, I would even encourage somebody when they're putting their budget together, send a copy to somebody, maybe it's a brother or a sister, or aunt, uncle, mom, dad, a friend, so that they can say, hey, how did you do last month? I'm telling you, it would revolutionize people's lives. In fact, it would help people find, so to speak, lost money in their homes. I believe this. I can go into anybody's home in America, I don't know if they're making $10 an hour or more, and find $200 or more because we waste so much money. But that accountability, I think you hit on something right there. Now somebody's going to call me up and say, hey, Audrey, how did you do on this or how did you do on that? And that's going to really help them move towards some of the subjects we'll talk about later, like building generational wealth or increasing their savings and things of that nature. But I believe it starts with a spending plan or a budget, and now having somebody, excuse me, that I'm accountable to. That's what really makes it work.
But because I think one of the other things too, there's like a taboo to talk about money, even in relationships, because people get so defensive about it or embarrassed about it. So sometimes you want to talk about it, but then there's this embarrassment around the fact because a lot of us are keeping up this facade that everything is good. It's all good. We're good. Everything is fine. And really, in reality, we're struggling financially because we won't talk to anybody. We won't talk to a professional about our money situation because it's embarrassing. And I think that's one of the things that we have to overcome. And how do we overcome that embarrassment around and shame around money and not being able to budget and not having to spend a plan and being in so much debt and can't even think straight of how to get out of it?
Yeah. Humility is part of the best remedy for that. We have to be willing to humble. I don't know all the answers. Now, that doesn't mean you have to tell everybody, about your financial situation, but you've got to find somebody professional and otherwise that you can talk to about it. And if we're not willing to be honest with ourselves about our financial situation, you're right. I talk to a lot of prospective clients, and here's what they tell me. I'm good. And in large part because they don't really know they're not good, number one. Number two, you're right, there's a level of embarrassment. Why? Because we have connected success with financial prowess, my income. In other words, I may make $7.50 an hour, and Audrey's making $12, and I'm embarrassed to tell her all I'm making is $7.50. So I stay where I'm at. Now, there's a very, very small percentage of people who will try to do something about it, but a lot of it is just our pride. And that's foolish, and it's going to keep a lot of people broke. It's going to keep a lot of people in debt unless they do something with it. At the risk of being redundant, I'm going to go back to your point. I think it was a salient point. Find somebody to be accountable to ask them. We don't know everything. And by staying willfully ignorant, we're doing more harm than good. Every day that goes by, every week that goes by, every month that goes by. Let me give you a good example. The vast majority of people overpay for housing. Statistically, more than 60% of people pay 50% or more for housing of their income. When I say 50% of their income for housing, let me tell you, that's a recipe for disaster. It's a matter of time. You're struggling every single month to do that. So let me kind of paint this picture so you can see it. 30% of your income goes to taxes, roughly, state, federal, ad valorem, and so forth. So that leaves you with 70%, 30% or roughly goes to debt maintenance, credit card, car note, store card, student loan, mortgages. Another 30 or 40% you have to struggle to live off of. If 50% of your income goes to housing, you're struggling making car payments, you're struggling paying credit cards. You know, statistically, there are 7 million Americans that are 3 months or more behind on their car payments. So a lot of this ties in what we're talking about, because we don't know and we won't ask anybody, professional or otherwise, and usually it starts with housing, because we all want to live in nice neighborhoods and we all want nice houses, whether we rent or buy, but the vast majority of people can't buy. Let me tell you, here's something people need to look out for. When going to buy a car or going to buy a car or renting, before we get into the buying, or renting an apartment, it asks you, what is your gross income? Nobody brings home gross income. So what I do, I'm getting ready to buy this car, and they ask me what my gross income, and I said, I can afford that based off my gross income. But we don't stop and take the time to figure out, wait a minute, that's not what I bring home. This is what I really bring home. So instead of getting this BMW 530, maybe I need to get a Ford Focus. So our appetites, so we talk about humility. The other one, our appetites. My grandmother used to say our eyes are bigger than our stomach. We end up buying something we can't afford. We have caviar taste, but beer budgets.
Wow. Now, Chris, the other thing, too, is now you just what you said. You said a lot of times people think they can afford a certain amount of house, and if they did it from a net perspective, they cannot. Why do you think the mortgage companies don't do it from a net perspective and versus a gross perspective when they know that Uncle Sam is going to get his, and that doesn't count towards the payments?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a definitive answer, but at best, I would say they're being disingenuous. They know you bring home net. The car dealership knows that. The leasing office knows that. I just believe that's just being disingenuous. And the vast majority of people, without being offensive, Audrey, are financially illiterate. They just don't have a broad understanding of money and how money works. Because think about it. Why would you say, what is your gross pay, when you don't bring home gross pay? So I think at best they're being disingenuous. It misleads people, and they think they could afford that. I mean, here's a rule I would encourage people. It's called a 50-20-30 rule. I didn't make it up. It's a rule so that you can allocate your expenses into 3 categories. 50% of your expenses should go to living expenses, rent, transportation, insurance, food, and utilities. Again, remember, if you're spending 50% on rent, you're already in trouble. It's just a matter of when. But if we could say, you know what, I'm going to allocate 50% of my expenses to rent, transportation, insurance, food, utilities. I'm going to allocate 20%, real high number, to financial goals. That includes debt reduction, savings, and investments. Pause right here. I mentioned 20% towards financial goals, debt reduction, savings, and investment. The average American saves 4% or less of their savings, of their income, That means if they save 4%, it would take 5 years to save 1 year's income, 25 years. So, but if I could save 10%, I'm going to be in good shape come retirement. 20%, I'm really in good shape. And then finally, 30% should be flexible spending. stuff you want to buy, snacks, stuff you don't necessarily have to have. But if you was just to look at that rule, I'm telling you, people are all out of whack. So this budgeting piece is critical. And if we don't get that part right, we're not going to get the rest of it right. So I have a guide that I use, what percentage people should pay, whether it's in their giving, their food, their utilities, housing. If they would follow that guide, they would be in great shape. Unfortunately, most people don't. Part of it is delayed gratification. Hey, I want to live in Buckhead now, even though my budget says Bankhead.
Living above their means. You know, I think when I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking about when people go to buy a house. I think from now on, as a part of this education series and beyond this, I think when we start talking, because we're going to talk about creating generational wealth and owning real estate is one of the ways to do that, one of the quickest ways to do that. But I'm thinking about people when they go into the bank, if they know when it's time for them to get a mortgage, that they should really get their mortgage based on their net pay versus what the bank is telling them their gross pay. I think they'll have a jump start on creating a clean financial future without a lot of stress, because like you said, when they go there, it's based on their, and that, for some reason, that's what has stuck out of my head right now. Because when I think about that, you know that you make $60,000 a year, but by the time Uncle Sam get his cut, you only at $40,000. That's what you should be getting your mortgage on, and we're going to talk about that later on in our series. But I just feel like that's so crazy. The other thing you said, you know, having that stuff written down somewhere. A lot of people think I got it in my head. I don't need to write it down. It's in my head. I know everything. And you really don't. I did a tracking. Lori had us track everything we spent in our Queen of Finance meeting. When I tell you it was the weirdest thing to know that I spent a lot of money on magazines, you wouldn't think so. Mm-hmm. But like most people are most people are coffee junkies and cigarette junkies. And, you know, I'm a magazine junkie, Chris. And magazines are not cheap. They're like $5 a pop. And I even bought a magazine that was $14. There's a magazine called Women Create. That was a lot. That was an eye-opening experience for me to see. Wow, you spend a lot of money a month on magazines, and it's the truth.
Yeah, you know, it's no accident that when you and I go to the checkout lines of Publix or Kroger or Walmart or wherever we shop, they got all these items. Impulse items, they're called, because I've already completed my shopping. I'm about to check out, whether I self-checkout or whether there's a cashier, but it's got all these items. Companies make millions of dollars just off of the impulse items. That's why when you go food shopping, you want to have a list. We're back to that list again. So that way, this is all I'm going to get. But most people end up spending an extra $3, $4, $5 with the impulse items. This is a disciplinary measure that we need to exercise, as you would say. As you said, you know, someone holds you accountable. And if people would do that, it would blow their mind how much money they could save. I've got a jar that I save just pennies. I've got another jar that I save nickels, dimes, quarters, singles, fives. And then I've got an envelope where intentionally I put cash in. That's a discipline. See, it doesn't take a lot of money. Everybody gets change if they're not using their debit card. Bank of America for years, I don't know if they still have it or not, whereas if you want to use your debit card and you spend $2.37, they would take the additional 63 cents and put it in your savings. You could find yourself have saved a substantial amount of money. In this case, Bank of America was doing it for you. But if people would just take their change and save it, stay away from impulse items. Make a list before you go to the store. And at the end of the month, end of 6 months, end of the year, you got a couple of $100 you can do some stuff with. So again, it comes back to the mindset. I have to be intentional about controlling my financial destiny. It doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen just by prayer or happenstance or because I want to or empirically. If we would do it intentionally, if your listeners would intentionally say today, you know what, I want to start controlling my financial destiny. I want to say it like this. Vince Lombardi, legendary coach, every training season, he would begin with this. He would pick up a football and say, gentlemen, this is a football. And these are guys that played football in high school and college, and some of them were all pros. And you would think they would know that. The point I'm making this morning, we got to get back to the basics first, because if we don't get the basics, the budgeting, the discipline now, we're not going to have the impact we want on our finances. Once we get the basics, then we can talk about putting money away in IRAs and annuities and buying hard assets and things of that nature. And that's why I spend a lot of time with the educational component, helping people understand, get the basics down. If not, you're just wandering in the financial wilderness, just hoping that you might get it.
Listen, I'm talking to Mr. Chris Cooke here. He's a financial advisor, dropping some wisdom on us about this thing called money. Very important. If you got a question for him, give him a call, 323-642-1096. Ask your question. We got about 10 minutes to be online, so make sure you call him in. Call in 323-642-1096. Chris, I want to say something about what discipline. In my office, I have two banks in my office, right? I have one that's a little garbage can. People don't know what it is, and that's a good thing because they may walk with it. But it's a little garbage can bank, and I put dollar bills in that bank. I love Arizona tea, right? So every time I look at the plastic containers that goes in the garbage, and we get like the gallon jug of Arizona tea, I was like, man, I could do something with this jug because, I really want to be crafty, but I'm not. So this is my opportunity to be a little bit crafty. So what I did was I had 2 Arizona tea bottles. I went out and bought some gold spray paint. I had my husband buy me some gold spray paint, and I painted the Arizona bottles, and I painted the whole thing, the top included, and now it's a bank. So people don't know what it is. They just go, "Ooh, that's so pretty." It's actually a bank, and that's why I put in all my spare change. Another way people can save spare change is, I know you've seen the commercial on TV. Let me tell you that it really works. Ebates. Ebates is a great way to save spare change. I know people don't think it's the truth, but it really is. So I was like, you know what, let me try this because I'm always shopping online. Like, I shop more online than I do physically because I'm just not a shopper like that unless I'm buying clothes. Like grocery shopping, I don't do. But clothes shopping I do. But I shop a lot online. I buy a lot of books. I'm always ordering something for somebody because of a birthday coming or something like that. And my time is just so limited. It's so easy to go online and shop. And then forget about domain names. GoDaddy I should have stock in GoDaddy because I own so many domain names. It's unbelievable. I think I own like 103. Every time I buy a domain name, I get cash back through eBay. When I tell you it's the truth, it's the truth. The first time I got a cashback check, I think it was like $53. I could not believe it. So they sent me the paper check in the mail, and I was like, I can't believe they actually sent money back. So when you think about little ways to save money, there are a lot of little ways. You don't even think about those things. And so now my little eBay check comes, and it goes right into my little account. It goes into my it comes through PayPal, and it goes into my business account. Those are tiny ways to add up money. Even with doing this show, even with doing any of my shows, these shows have revenue sharing involved with them, right? It's not a lot of money, but if you build it up to be a big show, it could be a pretty substantial amount of money. I did Podfest last week in Florida. There were people there who were making millions of dollars, but there were also people there who were making a couple $100 because they got, 1,000 listeners that's listening to their show. And we're going to talk about that later on in the series when we talk about creating multiple streams of income. But I just wanted to share that it is about discipline. Chris said it. It's about discipline. It's about having a plan in place. You have to do these things or else you're going to continue to suffer. You're going to ask yourself, man, why can't I get ahead? Why can't I move forward? You know what I mean, right, Chris?
I want to share one more. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I want to share one more. This is an obvious one, but we miss it. Pay your bills on time. Whenever we pay, I'm from a different generation. When we were late, we get our bills in the mail when I was growing up. We get the pink ones or the blue ones. That meant we was late. Well, the point I'm making is, work out your budget such that you can pay your bills on time because as we know, there are late charges assessed when we pay our utility bills late, car payment late, or any bill for that matter late. And that adds up to hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over the course of a year when we pay our bills late. One other one is have a savings or checking account. Why? I did a broadcast some years ago. A young lady called in She was making $10 an hour. We were talking about saving. She said she couldn't afford to save. I asked her how do you pay your bills? She said check, money orders, and go to check cashing places to cash her check. Average person spends between $800 and $1,100 a year purchasing money orders and having their checks cashed through check cashing. If she had a savings or a checking account, she wouldn't have that expense right there. So those are the obvious ones that we overlook. There's money there that we give away by paying our bills late or don't have a checking or a savings account. And today you can get a debit card with any company, and that would avoid the check cashing fee and the money order fees for the most part. So those are just some ways people can save their change.
But, Chris, I think a lot of people have kind of burnt that bridge a little bit because they may have had a checking account and kind of screwed it up. So now they're using, these prepaid cards and things like that are really not that beneficial to them, except for they can get their money, on a card and they can be able to go and spend it. So what they really need to do is go back and correct, because you can go back and correct that with the bank. Like a bank, if you owe the bank money, go back and pay the bank their money, and then you can get a legit checking account. Now, I know for some people, those cards are a lifeline for them. But if you can go back and fix that bill, that's the first step in being disciplined. Go back, rectify the problem with the bank, so now you can have a relationship with your bank. I go into Bank of America, and I know the lady, the manager, the branch manager by name. She knows me. I'm like, hey, Francine. It's like we're friends, because now I have that relationship with my banker. That's important, too. When we talk about building generational wealth, you're going to find out there's a lot of important things you need to know and a lot of important people you need to know on this journey to creating this generational wealth.
You're not on an island by yourself, which is the great thing. You don't have to know all the answers. There are professionals out there, licensed professionals such as myself, that can help you get to where you want to be. But I think you have to make a decision, and I think the decision begins with, what is it I want my money to do? I ask clients all the time, I just don't assume. I ask them, what is it you want your money to do? Some people are looking for the tax advantages. Some people are looking to build wealth. So decide what you want your money to do, and then put it on paper. By the end of this year, I want to save X amount. I want to pay off X amount of this debt. I want to cut back on this. Put a plan in place. Look, people don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. You've heard that adage before. Put a plan in place and then stick to your plan. Put a budget in place. Plan on saving money. Choose something to save for. 2 years ago, I went to Puerto Rico at my children's insistence, since I'm always grinding and working, but that was a plan. Right. Choose something to save for. I just had my 18th grandchild. I'm getting ready to put a 529 college plan in. Have something to plan for. Here's a major one. Decide on your priorities. What's most important? Is it important that you get this new cell phone? Because the one you've got is just fine. When you call, someone answers, and then pick the right tools. Don't put all your money in the wrong place. Put it where it's going to work for you. And I think if people would do those, and even automate their savings, they can watch their savings grow. They can say, wow, I wish I started. I told people this all the time, Audrey. The best time to have started saving would have been 20, 30 years ago. The next best time is today. We got to stop procrastinating and get started.
One of the things I definitely want to talk about, and I don't think this is on our itinerary to talk about, but I do want to talk about it at some point because I think it's really important. When you ask people, what do you want your money to do for you, the first thing that came to my mind as a business owner is, listen, I want to be able to say I can retire too, because as a small business owner or entrepreneur who most of the time we don't have an investment plan in place, we don't think about that stuff because we're running our business. And some of us have some really, some good money in the account right now, but that money won't last forever. So I know at some point, now that I'm thinking about it, I want us to talk about and talk to the entrepreneur who is, running a business and they don't have a financial plan in place for retirement. Maybe they don't think they'll ever retire, because I don't think I'll ever retire. However, there's a cushion that I would like to have in place just in case I make up my mind and say, you know what, I'm tired of doing this. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to sit on the lake and drink tea and read books. I need to have that cushion to fall back on. I know I'm around entrepreneurs all the time, a lot of them, And I know that a lot of them do not have this type of plan in place where if they decide, or God forbid, they're unable to continue working a business, they don't have anything to fall back on. So I know I want to talk about that, Chris. I don't think that's on our list, but maybe we can squeeze it in and talk about it, because I think that'll be helpful for those people who are, doing this thing right now.
I think it's imperative that we do, because you're right. There are individuals, entrepreneurs, and employees make six figures, high six figures, not saving it in the right place. Doctors were taught how to doctor. They weren't taught how to manage money. Entrepreneurs have decided that they want to be their own boss. They still don't know how to manage money. So you're right. Even people that are employees, I ask this question: how much money do you need to save in order to live the same way in retirement and not have to work? 8 out of 10 will tell me, I don't know. People will tell me this. They got 401k. They say the company's matching. I said, that doesn't mean a whole lot. If the rate of return isn't high enough, you're not putting enough in it, and you don't have enough time. So that's that education piece. So, yeah, even entrepreneurs that are making – I know athletes making millions of dollars. They don't know what to do with it. They usually will go out and splurge and buy cars and jewelry and things of that nature. And that's why you find a segment of them when they retire from sports don't have any money. So yeah, I definitely think that's one we should work in there some way, somehow, because it's really important. And I'm hoping the listeners heard just what we said. I know they got their 401ks, 403bs, 457s, and don't really know whether or not their money is working for them to get them to where they need to be. Yes, they're putting their money every pay period. Yes, the company's matching, but it may not be enough to get them where they need to be. So in retirement, they find themselves still having to find a part-time job. For people that are self-employed, they need to look at how they can get a tax write-off, or to get the contributions that are tax deductible by setting up small retirement plans, kiosks, SEP accounts, things of that nature. And again, it does a lot for both their bottom line and for their future.
Woo, listen, this is what you got to look forward to for the next, I think we're at 9 weeks now. We may be at 8 weeks. I think the next 8 weeks, I think this is part 4 in this series. Chris is dropping in on us. We are coming back to you again next Wednesday, God willing, because this is really important. And so I know for all my Gwinnetians out there listening, I try to give you some information about what's going on around Gwinnett, but on Wednesdays, we talk about money. And so we're going to be talking about this for the next 8 weeks. I think we're on part 4 right now, the next 8 weeks continuously, because we want to make sure that you guys have a healthy relationship with money. We also want to make sure that, you're working hard for your money. You got to learn how to make that money work hard for you so you can relax a little bit. Stress and heart attacks come from stress. A lot of times stress comes from money. I'm just going to be honest. A lot of people that are stressed out right now, it's because of money. And then they develop all these other conditions like cancer and heart attacks. I'm not a doctor, and I don't proclaim to be one, but I do a lot of reading when it comes to health. And a lot of the issues that we face in our health is because of stress, and a lot of that stress is around money. And so we want to try to help you alleviate some of that stress by teaching you the basics about money, getting back to the basics, and also how to take the money that you're already earning and make it grow. I'm gonna tell a quick story now. I'm gonna let you tell people how to reach out to you, Chris. I heard this story one time about an old woman. She lived in, I want to say, somewhere in New Jersey. She was old. She never had a car, so she didn't have insurance. She never had cables, so she didn't have a cable bill. But she did have a job making a little bit of money, and she was a frugal saver. When she passed away, she was about 80 years old. She had $1 million saved up. It didn't put it in a bank because she didn't believe in banks. It was in her house. So when they went to go in her house to move her out, she didn't have kids. She had $1 million that she had saved over her lifetime because she was disciplined. She knew the value of what she needed. She needed a roof over her head, clothes on her back, and food on her table. She did that, and she saved $1 million. So with that, Chris, I want you to tell people how to reach out to you so they can talk to you further until we get together next week.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Audrey. Also, I just wanted to thank you because, you have really stirred up some juices in me. I love doing what I'm doing, as you know. And so we are formulating what we call, you and I talked about audio, urban economics. That's for individuals, inner city individuals, low income individuals, middle income Americans who are struggling. And I want to speak directly to them and scratch them where they itch. Next week, we'll have a different number where they can reach us, and we'll have a site that they can go to. But until then, they can reach me at 404-839-8274. The number again is 404-839-8274. Again, I just want to encourage somebody, do something with the information that you are receiving on these broadcasts. Apply it, and you'll be surprised where you'll be. Again, Audrey, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with your listeners.
You're very welcome. Listen, y'all, that's all I got for now. I'll be back again tomorrow, God willing, with another great show. Until next time, if you missed the episode, go over to Good Morning Gwinnett. Check out the past episodes. And until next time, make it a great day.
You've been listening to Good Morning Gwinnett. Make sure to tune in daily at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to find out what's happening around Gwinnett. If you miss an episode, go to www.goodmorninggwinnett.com to catch up. If you like this episode, go ahead and subscribe to the show now and share it with your friends.
The Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.